good morning. My name is Rachel Elliott, and I'm a senior at Life Christian Academy. I've been attending this amazing school since kindergarten. My parents sent me there in order to get a good education, be surrounded by faithful teachers, and to create a deep relationship with God. Life Christian has never failed to create this type of learning environment. Growing up in a Christian school, however, had its challenges. As an elementary schooler, I can remember neighbor kids picking on me because I was sheltered and that Christian girl. As crazy as it may sound, I carried those words with me. They caused me to be ashamed of my faith in God. At school, I was a good Christian girl, but outside of school, I tried to hide that from people. My 7th grade year, I decided to join my school's middle school cheer team. That first year, there were a solid 5 of us. The relationship I created with my coach that year is what caused me to continue to try out for cheer in the years to follow. I knew that there was something special about the cheer program, not to mention the fact that they were really good. Fast forward to my junior year of high school, the cheer team had made it to state once again. It was going to be the same thing as all my previous years at the state competition. I would walk onto the blue mat, give it my best, and walk off, hoping that my best was good enough to get first place. Boy, did God switch things up on me that year. After our team dinner the night before state, our coaches got a word from God. He told them to take the team to Battleground High School, where the competition would be held the following day in order to pray. I can remember on the bus being much more annoyed than I should have been about the fact that it was 9 o'clock, the night before state, and my coaches were making me stand outside to pray. When I stepped off the bus that night onto Battleground's campus, everything felt so different. God's presence overwhelmed everyone. Teammates were on the ground shaking. Others sat there and cried. It was a night that words will never be able to describe. The next day, we went on to the mat and gave it our all. This time, however, we gave it our all for God. He rewarded us by giving us the first place trophy. We were ecstatic. Sadly, after state, we all went back to our normal lives. It was like the experience had never happened. I was so frustrated with God. I didn't understand how he could cause such a huge change in our team and then just allow it to go back to the way things were before. Just a month after being so rocked by God, my world seemed to be crashing down on me. My grandpa, who was my father figure growing up, became very sick. After a week in the ICU, hospice was called in. I had no idea how I was going to get through such a tough time. I'll tell you though, our God works in amazing ways. That same week was my school's annual Spiritual Emphasis Week, a week where we have chapel every day. I didn't go to school that week because I wanted to be with my family and my grandpa in his final days. But I kept feeling God nudged me to go to chapel. That week I felt replenished. My faith in God had never been so strong. If it weren't for that week, I don't think I would have been able to handle my grandfather's death with so much faith that God's planning and timing were perfect. This past summer, our team got a bid to go to the National Christian Cheerleading Competition in Orlando, Florida. In the months leading up to the competition, we worked to regain our focus on God and to put our faith completely in Him. Our coach had warned us that when a team is successful in Christ, the enemy will always go after that team. We didn't think this was true until training for nationals really began to pick up. 2 team members were out with injuries, another was out with pneumonia, and I was out with some ongoing stomach issues. We thought our fight would be over once we got to Florida. After all, if God can show up at a non-Christian state competition, He would for sure show up at a national Christian competition. I think this place needed God more than state did. So many people seem to be stuck in the same position I once found myself in, knowing God, but too ashamed and scared to fully put my faith in Him. As we battled to keep our focus on God, other teams worked through the world. We walked to the warm-up room and teams would be blasting their vulgar music while we stood in our circle and sang worship songs. By the time we were almost on the competition floor, staff members and other teams began to sing with us. Our small circle of worship turned into a warm-up room full of people praising God. How could someone be in that room and not put their faith in Him? The hard part is that not everyone was in that room. Coming home from nationals with a first place trophy almost the size of me was a huge victory. People could see that and acknowledged it. For our team though, the trophy represented so much more than a national title. It It represented victory in God. The trophy has become a reminder to us that putting your faith in God will bring you the biggest victories, bigger than you ever thought possible. I had been on such a, as my family calls it, Jesus high, since nationals, that I didn't think God could work any more inside of me. Once again, my little faith proved me wrong. Every year at school, the seniors go on a missions trip to Mexico. God, who never keeps things the same, closed the door to Mexico this year, but opened the door for us to go to Guatemala, a trip the school had never been on. So March 22nd, my senior class and I, along with some faculty and parents, set out on our trip to Guatemala. When we arrived, it was very late at night. We were in a completely unknown place, about to meet a family for the first time that we would be living with for a week. We were uncomfortable. 2 days later, we went to a church service in Antigua. The title of the sermon was, "The Currency of Heaven is Faith." Faith, the most simple concept when it comes to being a believer, yet the hardest to grow and maintain. The biggest takeaway, one that I had heard so many times yet never acted upon, was that in order to grow your faith, you have to put yourself in uncomfortable circumstances. Faith can't grow when your life remains the same. As I went out to my job throughout the week at the special education site, I was forced to step out of my comfort zone. I had to speak to everyone in a language that isn't my first language. I was with people that I had just met, but the whole week I knew that God was with me. My faith was in Him. I knew that He had my back and that He will never fail me. For so many of my classmates, this trip was a pivotal moment in their walk with the Lord, and same for me. Our faith was grown through having to trust God in situations that put us out of our comfort zones. It is because of moments like these in a small Christian school in Tacoma, Washington, that I have found my calling in God. It is through programs like cheerleading, National Honor Society, Rotary Interact, missions, that my desire to grow God's kingdom has grown immensely. Faith to me is knowing that it is safer to be in the storm with God than to be out of the storm without Him. Thank you.